Today we're going to talk about the price action that we have seen in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies since my last video, where I called for the next cryptocurrency bull stretch. And Bitcoin has certainly met that definition, and we have seen the market cap of all cryptocurrencies increase substantially since that video. However, if we look at altcoins relative to Bitcoin, they're almost all down quite a bit. So I wanted to talk about that briefly as to whether or not I see an opportunity there, if I would buy Bitcoin at these levels. And also I want to talk about the YouTube channel a little bit and the content that I want to produce on it for the future, so stay tuned for that as well. In terms of Bitcoin, we saw quite a substantial run up today over the last 24 hours or so, and a little bit past that even. And really, this, in my opinion, was a little bit sooner than expected, but it's not that unexpected. I'm still bullish on Bitcoin. I wouldn't buy it at any level above $7,500, and that's not because I'm not bullish on it going up any further. I actually think it's fairly likely we see Bitcoin go to roughly $10,000 by the end of the year, and that's not based on any technical analysis. That's not based on anything other than the fact that people expect that to happen. There's so much FOMO investing here, and behavioral finance is one of the most key components that is affecting this market at the moment. And I've been spending a lot more time recently reading about the tech behind Bitcoin and what some of the key opinion leaders within the tech community are thinking about Bitcoin moving forward. And I have seen a substantial increase in the number of people talking about Bitcoin's price, but not the adoption of Bitcoin. And that really concerns me quite a bit, because when we start seeing this shift within the community and we start seeing people view Bitcoin as a speculative asset, and they really only see it as digital gold. We're no longer thinking about it as a peer-to-peer transaction network, because it's far beyond the point at this stage that it's even useful as a peer-to-peer transaction network. I mean, unless you're super techie, and this is even going beyond the transaction fees, if we look at the usability of Bitcoin, it's really not there. And so we're going to talk about that in future videos here, because this is something that I really want to explore. I have talked about whether or not Bitcoin is in a bubble in the past. I have constantly said that there are signs that it is, mostly from the behavioral finance side of things, but also there's been other signs that Bitcoin really is in a bubble, and I really want to talk about that and finally give you guys a conclusive answer, yes or no, is Bitcoin in a bubble? Because up until now I've sort of been inconclusive. I said that Bitcoin is priced the way it is at the moment as a result of loose monetary policy causing investors to chase performance. And if you haven't seen that video, I really recommend that you check it out. It is kind of deep and has a lot of topics that, if you're not involved in finance, probably will lose you. But I do my best to explain it in layman terms so that everybody can follow along with that video. But I really encourage that you check it out, because it's probably, I think it's the second best YouTube video on this channel, despite the fact that it's one of my least viewed videos relative to my last, 15 or so videos. So check that video out if you haven't, because I think it's great. And I'm going to try to produce another video of that caliber to talk about if Bitcoin is or isn't a bubble, and I'm going to give a definitive answer, because I really think it's time to start addressing this. Because like I said, I am starting to see an increase in the number of people within this community that really only talk about Bitcoin as a speculative asset, which gets you rich quickly, but they really don't talk, again, about business XYZ accepting Bitcoin anymore. That no longer makes headline news. The fact that Bitcoin broke 7,500, that's the new big headline. And whether or not it's going to act as digital gold, and institutional investors are going to come in through futures and this and that, but none of these things really have to do with the adoption of Bitcoin. So, moving forward with Bitcoin, I'm still bullish. I still think it's going to go higher as a result of FOMO investing. I think that this market is dominated by behavioral finance. We'll probably talk about that in a future video as well. However, what this does mean is that you should watch sentiment very closely, because if you look at the dot-com bubble, you really didn't have one particular catalyst that brought it all down. I mean, you had the awful merger between Time Warner and AOL. You had this article in Barron's called Burning Up, which talked about a bunch of internet companies that were running out of cash very quickly and were going to run out of cash in the next 12 months or so. you had a number of different catalysts, but basically sentiment changed very quickly. And when we think about the dot-com bubble, there was no one catalyst specifically that popped it. And that's going to be the same situation with Bitcoin if it is a bubble. And again, given the fact that so much of it is driven by behavioral finance, I would start considering that more seriously. Again, we're going to talk about this subject in more detail and more specifically and give maybe some sources and this and that so that it's a little bit more supported and I can definitively say whether Bitcoin is or isn't a bubble. But I'm leaning towards the answer of yes based off of what I'm seeing in the community at the moment. So keep that in mind. Moving on to other cryptocurrencies, you guys know that I'm relatively bullish about Ethereum. It's been doing poorly against Bitcoin over the past 36 hours because it's been flat on a US dollar level, where Bitcoin has done nothing but go straight up. However, I still am bullish on Ethereum in the medium term here. I do think that you have to think about your time horizon when you decide to buy into Ethereum. If you are looking to have a short time horizon, then any purchase below $300, I think, no matter what your time horizon actually is, I think any level below $300, there's an opportunity there. And when you see it between 300 and roughly 340, which it's sort of traded in that range over the past close to 2 months now, when you see it in that range, you really have to have a medium-term outlook because we don't know how long it's going to take for Ethereum to break out of this consolidation. We could very easily see Ethereum go back to $300, then go back up to 330, down to 315, so on and so forth. I mean, it's not been the most exciting cryptocurrency to watch over the past couple of months, or no, I shouldn't say that long time, but over the last 2 months or so, Ethereum really hasn't been that exciting. I still think that's going to change at some point here. I don't know when, of course. Maybe it's going to be with one of these hard fork upgrades that they do. We'll see. But I would really recommend that you stay around with Ethereum if you're looking at the medium to long term. Otherwise, if you're looking at the short term right now, I probably wouldn't get in at these levels. I'll leave that up to you. Now, Litecoin had a very good run-up as a result of the fact that they had the first successful Lightning atomic swap with Bitcoin. Now, as awesome as that is, I'm actually not all that much bullish about it because I really don't think atomic swaps are going to do a whole lot for cryptocurrencies in the short term. I think they will in the long term. I think they're going to be a very useful tool, and I think there's going to be an implementation of them that makes decentralized exchanges very attractive. But for right now, I actually think that atomic swaps are not that relevant for cryptocurrencies. So when we see a successful atomic swap, I don't really think it should have this level of an impact on a cryptocurrency. However, I think Litecoin before this was actually substantially undervalued still, so it really is kind of a moot point. It was a catalyst to help Litecoin realize more of its fair value, and hopefully more of that happens moving into the future. However, I think the real opportunity at the moment is in altcoins. You guys know that I'm relatively bullish on altcoins or Bitcoin depending on sentiment and valuation in the market. Well, this certainly is not based off of sentiment because all of the sentiment is behind Bitcoin at the moment, which means usually altcoins suffer a little bit. However, the reason I'm encouraging people to invest in altcoins at the moment over Bitcoin is because Bitcoin at any level over $7,500, it has a decent amount of upside. We can still see it go all the way up to like $10,000, maybe even a little bit higher than that. But your downside risk is fairly substantial as well. Recall, and this is a fairly straightforward principle, but the higher you pay for a particular asset, the higher your downside risk is. So at any level above $7,500, I still think that Bitcoin is a hold, but I would not buy more or accumulate more at levels above 7,500 unless you're just trading, of course. If you're trading, then you can buy at any level because as long as you can sell it higher, it doesn't matter. But if you're sort of doing like a swing trade, which usually lasts a little bit longer than a month, maybe a little bit longer than that, then I really, at this point in time, I would recommend that you swing that capital somewhere other than Bitcoin. So, where would I go? Any altcoin that you're really bullish on, any altcoin that's depressed relative to its history in terms of Bitcoin values, which hint, that's going to be most cryptocurrencies at the moment, because most of them, even though they've sort of rebounded a little bit, a lot of them are still suffering relative to their value in the past. In other words, if we look back to the beginning of October, almost all altcoins at the moment are trading lower in Bitcoin terms than they were at the beginning of October. So that's something to be mindful of. I think there's a ton of projects that you can be bullish on, so I would consider investing in any cryptocurrencies that you actually like at the moment. You guys know the ones that I'm bullish on. I'm actually considering a small investment in 10x at the moment. I think it's a cryptocurrency that, funny enough, is either going to be a 10-bagger, which means it can go up 10x, or it's going to do the exact opposite and actually go down quite a bit. So I'm going to do a small position, one that I'm comfortable with losing entirely, and I'm going to go from there. I like 10x quite a bit. It has done relatively poorly over the past, basically since its ICO. It really hasn't had that wonderful of a story in terms of its market value. I'm actually starting to turn bullish on it. I've actually been bullish on it for quite some time, but you can see here that after its initial run up here, it's done absolutely nothing. I like 10x quite a bit. I like their team. I like their product. As long as they're able to get their cards out to everybody, I hear quite a bit about the delays that people are experiencing with those cards. However, I do think that they're going to bridge a gap in the short term. 10x is providing a band-aid solution. I want to emphasize that because it's very important to understand. Because 10x is providing a band-aid solution, in other words, it's not fixing the core problem. What's the core problem? The fact that cryptocurrencies suck and are unable to be used at any location in the world practically. Don't get me wrong, a lot of businesses do accept them, but nowhere near enough to be able to live off of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies unless you're putting a ton of effort into doing so, right? That is the core problem. 10x is a band-aid to that problem. Do not make the mistake of thinking that this is a cryptocurrency that in 20 years is going to be massive. It's not going to be necessary in 20 years in an ideal world. If they are still necessary in another 20 years, then we've got more serious problems. So I just want to emphasize, this is a great play, I think, in the short term here. And again, it's going to be one of those cryptocurrencies that either goes up a ton or it goes to zero. And that's just the reality. I mean, that's true of a lot of cryptocurrencies, but I think it's especially true for a prepaid debit card product. So those are my thoughts on 10x. But you want to look at projects like that are doing relatively poorly on a Bitcoin level. Consider investing in them. You guys know my other projects that I sort of invest in. I'm going to start covering more cryptocurrencies on this channel. I really want to start providing more quality analysis for all of you. The reason I don't talk about certain cryptocurrencies is because even though I know the basics of all of these major cryptocurrencies here, I really want to know a lot before I talk about a particular cryptocurrency. So what I'm going to be doing in the future here is producing some primers for some of these top cryptocurrencies and basically what they do, how they work, what is their inflation rate, what is the unique elements of their network, what business problem are they trying to solve, is it realistic that they're able to solve it in the short term here, should we even care about the business solution that they're trying to solve, or is it so overvalued that at this point it is irrelevant, because I think that's the case with a lot of cryptocurrencies, and the only thing that we should be paying attention to is the behavioral finance and sort of technical analysis side of things in terms of price action. But some of these cryptocurrencies are so far overvalued that it doesn't matter how great their use case is because they're so disconnected to their intrinsic value, which is always difficult to calculate with these cryptocurrencies. We'll be talking about that in the future as well. But the point is, a lot of these cryptocurrencies, great project, great business solution, great team, great this, great that, doesn't matter. A lot of them are so overvalued, it truly does not matter. And that fundamental analysis that you see really doesn't look at valuation a lot of the times. And you're missing one of the most important elements when it comes to investing in a particular asset. When we think about buying a car, we don't just say, okay, it has XYZ features, I'll take it. You usually ask what the price is, right? But we don't have the means at the moment of saying, is this a high or a low price for a particular cryptocurrency? And people are working on that right now as we speak. And I'd like to be one of those people. I think valuation is such an important subject that you really can't talk about fundamental investing, fundamental analysis, unless you do know how to value a particular asset, without being able to value an asset, all of it is based off of supply and demand. And there are a number of factors with supply and demand that have absolutely nothing to do about whether or not it's a practical solution for a business problem, whether or not it actually is getting into the particular industry that it's trying to get into, and so on and so forth. So this particular YouTube channel, expect to start seeing the content level expand. Start expecting to see more high quality content similar to two of my previous videos that I produced called How the Bitcoin Bubble Will Pop and If Bitcoin is a Bubble, So Is Everything Else. Those videos, in my opinion, are the highest quality videos on this YouTube channel, and I hope to bring more quality of that caliber to the channel because, in my opinion, that's what educates people. And now that my influence is starting to increase on the community, I feel a responsibility to start becoming more and more knowledgeable on this field rather than provide you guys my insights on just the markets all the time and talking about, is this cryptocurrency going to go up or down? I want to start talking about the long term here because people have been asking me sometimes, what's your 5 to 10 year prognosis on Bitcoin? What do you think is going to happen moving forward? And personally, I know this sounds insane, but there's a chance that Bitcoin doesn't even survive 5 to 10 years from now. Okay? There's a chance. Maybe not 5 years, but once we get to like 20 years, it really does become an unknown quantity, whether or not Bitcoin will even be around at that time. Not saying cryptocurrencies as a whole will die, but whether or not Bitcoin will exist 20 years from now is a totally separate subject that I think a lot of people are in denial about. So we're going to start spreading some facts. We're going to start trying to take... I do think this channel should be about opinions, but I want to start substantiating it a little bit more. I want to start adding more research. I want to start writing more articles again. It's been a while since I've written my last article, and I haven't written that many since I've started the YouTube channel. I want to get back into that. I want to start citing my sources again. I want to start doing tons of research and being able to support my claims with XYZ sources and start saying, these are the specific numbers that we're looking at here, and this is why I'm bullish or bearish on this particular cryptocurrency or on the market as a whole. I want to have it so that if I had a discussion with Warren Buffett about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and any question that he had to ask about the valuation of them, any question that he had to ask about the behavioral finance component of these cryptocurrencies, or the business solution that they're trying to provide, and whether or not they're commodity or a currency or a security. These are all questions that we should all be trying to answer. And I think that the main people that are trying to address these types of problems are not the type of people that are able to communicate with a large audience. And that's my long-term goal with this channel, is to provide a source of content for all of you that help make you better investors. And part of becoming a better investor is really understanding the assets that you're investing in, the factors that influence their pricing, what are the fundamental basis upon which they are priced, and is their price reflecting their intrinsic value? Can we even determine an intrinsic value? All of this is a bunch of rambling. This was supposed to be a brief update, but I really wanted to talk about what I'm thinking about recently and why producing videos is taking longer than usual for me recently. It's because I've been thinking about how I want to take this YouTube channel moving into the future. And I think for doing so, I don't want to just be a daily market update channel. I want to be somebody that really addresses the real problems with some of these cryptocurrencies, not to solve them from a tech side of things, but to understand them so we better know how to invest in these cryptocurrencies and can be better aware of the risk that are associated with investing in a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, which has relatively poor governance. So we're going to be talking about that in the future. We're going to start doing some more evergreen content that basically is timeless, and hopefully will improve your ability to understand how these assets are priced and what to expect moving into the future with them. As usual, I hope you guys liked the video. If you would like to support me, there are some Amazon affiliate links in the description. I receive small compensation on any order that you place within the next 24 hours after clicking one of those links, even if it's not for the item that I linked. So check those out if you're interested. Otherwise, please leave a like, comment, and subscription, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you for watching.